probably the scariest, bumpiest ride I've ever been on any plane.
Turbulent day from the skies to the ground below, wind and rain letting their power be known.
And pronounced dead. A man then wakes up in a body bag just moments before he was to be embalmed.
And cell phone maps as drivers get the green light to use them on the road. Is that putting you more at risk? We'll have your comments tonight. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Patton.
And I'm Nada Iranpour. We all felt it. The storm lived up to the hype today with heavy rain and windy conditions across not only the county but all of Southern California.
And we have team coverage again tonight. Meteorologist Sabrina Fine standing by with the latest on the weather conditions. Our John Carroll live in Mission Valley. And let's begin with Sabrina. And Sabrina, I understand we could have more flooding tonight, possibly.
Yeah, we could, as we have that flood watch staying with us through the evening. The rain today, though, we still are in a deficit despite it of about 2.8 inches. We'll continue to watch some of the shower activity, though, tonight on into tomorrow, so that should help things out. Right now, Oceanside, you're bracing for the next batch of activity moving to your, and in probably about 5 minutes, all of this then heading out over toward Fallbrook in the next 5 minutes as well. Mira Mesa beginning to dry things out, but that's heading to Poway in the next 5 minutes for you. When you see the broader view here, we're not looking at a lot of action right now over the coastline, but that is going to change as we still have those high winds and the storm system remaining off the coast. Current gusts in La Mesa at about 34 miles per hour, Julian up to around 38, and those high winds will stay with us as we get some of the wind and rain to roll on in. Flash flood watch remains with us until about 3 a.m. on into Sunday. Also noticing and picking up another 1.5 to 2 inches of rain from the coast all the way out over toward the mountains. Continue with our coastal flood warning because the system producing very high waves. In fact, we could see the highest waves come our way Saturday morning. The winds also going to continue until about 6 a.m. So that has been a decrease as far as length and time for the mountain and desert communities where you could see your winds about 25 to 40 miles per hour sustained. So your storm stats, another 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain taking us from Saturday leading into early Sunday morning. 15-foot waves are possible Saturday at around 9 a.m. if you want to go take a look at them. It will remain windy for tomorrow, but at least not as high as what we experienced for today. Coming up, we'll take a look at your hour-by-hour rain forecast to show you exactly where we're going to see the shower activity for tomorrow and break down the timing. Time now to send it over to my colleague John Carroll out bracing in the storm. John?
Sabrina, I am on Avenida del Rio, just next to Camino de la Reina. And if you know this part of San Diego, you know this is one of the usual suspects when it comes to flooding. Take a look at the San Diego River right over here. It is really moving along tonight. And like so many other places around San Diego County, getting so much rain in such a relatively short amount of time, well, that did a number on trees and people. The sight and the sound of some of the heaviest rain San Diego has seen in many months. This is what my photographer and I saw and heard as we got on the 52 westbound at about 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. The intensity of that rain and the wind pushing it through the county was just too much for lots of trees. This one fell across a sidewalk in Kearny Mesa. But within about 20 minutes, a city crew had turned the sidewalk obstruction into fresh mulch. Dealing with the situation at Lindbergh Field proved more difficult. The story told on information screens the words "now at," indicating delayed flight after delayed flight. Travelers told San Diego 6 the stormy conditions made it tough to get here, and for those flying in, those same conditions made for some tense moments.
There was a lot of turbulence. It lasted for a long time, probably the scariest, bumpiest ride I've ever been on any plane.
Flight was a little delayed, and then there was a lot of turbulence coming into San Diego. We had to fly in the opposite direction, and so the wind was pretty rough, and it was turning the plane quite a bit.
It was the first time that on an American flight people have cheered on the way in, so as soon as we landed, everybody was pretty excited.
Of course, one's experience of the inclement weather has a lot to do with where you experience it. From the cozy confines of the La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club's marine room, diners watched as waves slammed into the restaurant, not quite getting up to the windows, but close enough to pull out the cameras for some memorable shots. Now back out here live on a closed Avenida del Rio, and you can see why. The San Diego River is really rushing through this area. Fortunately, several years ago, the city redesigned it so it is actually designed to flood. Now, when our chief photographer, Scott Baird, was on his way home today, he came across a downed tree scene that makes that one in Kearney Mesa look like nothing. We will show you where that happened and when. We see you live at 10:30. For now, live in Mission Valley, John Carroll, San Diego 6 News.
John lucked out, not a raindrop on him.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that.
Pretty calm right now. Well, as you might expect, it was a busy day for emergency crews, from overturned cars and boats to trees blown over. Crews were tested, responding to the issues.
Jeff Powers was in the elements and has these details.
An overturned truck along the 8 freeway. An 18-foot boat capsized in San Diego Bay. Trees uprooted and hauled away. This weather has turned San Diego upside down.
With the severity of this storm, our ability to respond is a little bit lessened than it normally would be.
Coast Guard rescue boats are stuck at the dock, leaving choppers as the lone rescue tool for as long as the storm is here.
We are still able to respond to emergencies. However, our response may be delayed just due to weather.
Mission Valley, Fashion Valley, Sorrento Valley, we're going to post our river rescue team members in those areas.
San Diego lifeguards have a 16-person river rescue team should the emergency arise. As always, in these situations, they're hoping common sense rules the day.
Well, what we're hoping for, that people are going to just be cautious and heed all the warnings that are going to be out there today. If you don't have to, don't go out.
Jeff Powers, San Diego 6 News.
Wow, look at that damage out there. The day-long storm is also being blamed for playing a big part in hundreds of accidents all across San Diego. According to the CHP, there were 494 accidents in San Diego County and Temecula between midnight and 8 p.m. today. That is a lot to respond to. On a normal weather day, there are between 50 and 75 accidents on San Diego roads. Authorities are urging drivers to take caution on the slick roadways by keeping a safe distance between cars and watching your speed.
Just to the north of us, homeowners also preparing for possible floods and landslides. Mandatory evacuation orders have been issued for 1,000 homes in 2 foothill suburbs east of Los Angeles. This was a scene in the town of Little Creek, where residents were told to leave their homes as rising waters approached.
Put the sandbags out the other day at the back door just in case. And that's all we can do is just hope for the best, and, you know, hope, God willing, it's not going to be as bad as it was a few years back.
Same community suffered heavy flooding years ago that destroyed dozens of homes and outbuildings.
And this storm also being blamed for knocking out power to more than 32,000 customers all across Southern California. And here in San Diego County, power was out to more than 1,000 homes and businesses in Ramona, Santa Isabel, and Julian this evening. Dozens of other smaller pockets across the county are also in the dark for part of the day. SDG&E crews are working right now to repair those downed lines and get the power back on for everyone. Another news now, 30 people were busted for a bribery scheme at the DMV in El Cajon. The FBI released this surveillance photo of a DMV employee accepting cash in exchange for a driver's license. For at least 3 years, they say DMV employees sold California driver's licenses, including commercial truck driving ones, for cash to people who were funneled their way through the owner of a local driving school. Students of the school, who were often Middle Eastern, paid anywhere from $500 to $2,500 to get a license without ever even taking a driver's test.
It undermines our national security, it jeopardizes the safety of the public, and thirdly, it erodes the trust of the public.
The FBI says it was all so blatant that surveillance showed the driving school operator brokering multiple deals right there in the DMV parking lot.
Sexually violent predator now set to spend his first weekend at his new home in the East County, and his new neighbors are on edge. Mikkel Marshall has spent nearly the past 2 decades in the custody of the state. 39-year-old spent 14 years in prison and then another 5 years in a sex offender treatment program. His new home is in Jacumba Hot Springs area, leaving those who live nearby nervous.
I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. Everything in me just is like, what? How can this be happening? How do I protect my kids? I don't sleep at all.
There is a guard living with Marshall for the immediate future. A hearing on Marshall's progress is set for May. His sentencing for the man who admitted to being high on meth when he caused a fatal car wreck in Poway is being pushed back until Monday. Back in September, Robbie Gillespie pleaded guilty to gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated in relation to the June 2013 crash. Gillespie and his friend Evelyn Courtney were in his car when it crashed into a Poway Fire Department vehicle. Courtney, a 19-year-old aspiring model, died in that crash. Gillespie was supposed to be sentenced today, but the hearing was pushed back when the judge issued a ruling that said Gillespie cannot change his plea.
And coming up, unsolved homicide for 22 years. Why the neighbor of this victim is still fighting for answers.
And a heroic rescue, how 2 officers saved the life of an infant baby.
Rain or shine, how finished Chelsea's run is drawing thousands for a good cause.
San Diego 6 News at 10.
A murder in Morena, a mystery. The neighbor of an 84-year-old woman who was raped and stabbed has been calling police at least 3 times a year for 22 years now, only to hear this every time.
There's nothing new. It's the status quo.
Joanne Carini vividly remembers the grace and kindness of her neighbor Angela Kleinsorge. She was brutally murdered February 28, 1992 in their neighborhood near University of San Diego, and still not a single clue. Every year around this time, Joanne tries to remind people of this unsolved crime.
It's important that this case come to a close to right a horrific wrong that's been done to this lady.
Decades ago, Kleinsorge owned Point Loma Nursery with her husband and lived alone after his death. Her daughter found this woman's bloodied body the morning of the attack. Police say the evidence is re-examined on a regular basis, and they hope to find a suspect match through DNA and fingerprints.
An emotional reunion today as the police officers who saved the life of an infant met once again with the baby and her mom, this time on much happier terms. It was a week ago today that Monique Matthews ran from her home to the officers carrying her 6-month-old daughter, Deani. Officers Mark Herring and Tobias Hoffman wasted no time, immediately giving the infant mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, saving her life.
I just ran over to them, and they came and took the baby out my hand, and like I said, I have never been so happy.
Well, little Deani was released from the hospital today and reunited with her twin sister. Officers Herring and Hoffman said they were glad to be able to help, but were just doing their jobs.
The rainy, wet weather won't stop thousands of San Diegans from coming out to finish the run that Chelsea King was never able to make. The 4th annual Finish Chelsea's Run event will go on tomorrow morning as planned in Balboa Park. It's a 5K run starting at 7:30 tomorrow morning with registration at 6:30. Chelsea's dad, Brent King, says nothing will stop them.
As long as Mother Nature gives us a little bit of cooperation and everybody loves to play in the rain, come on out.
Yeah, the more people, the more scholarship money they'll have. Chelsea was killed back in February of 2010 while out for a run right around Lake Hodges. Proceeds from this event go to Chelsea's Light Foundation, founded by her father after she died.
Well, I had a chance to join some special folks at Alvarado Hospital today for their annual Spaghetti Luncheon fundraiser. Comebackers Club is made up of survivors of stroke and traumatic brain injury, as well as medical staff and family members, all focused on helping patients recover from stroke and traumatic brain injury.
And it's more of a social event that we have almost every year, and it's also a fundraiser for our stroke victims.
And I was privileged to wear that hat and to serve up spaghetti and help with the auctioning of a few items. Special thanks to Jerry D'Angelo and his wife who organized this event to help countless patients who are on the road to recovery.
Wow, you look really tall.
I am really tall.
But now with the hat, you gained an extra 2 feet.
That made it even more. People rarely see me standing up. My chair is almost on the ground every night. Just under 6'4".
That's tall.
Which is tall for most people.
All right, well, actually, a lot of folks had to evacuate today right around Los Angeles because of mudslides. This is out over toward Glendora, Monrovia, and Azusa. There was mud, rock, and debris that started streaming down the streets early this morning. All this wet weather is our general storm vicinity as well, and we're going to continue to deal with it at least for the next day and a half. It produced a lot of wind for us as well. We saw some wind gusts in Palomar Mountain up to 73 miles per hour. Chula Vista was at around 56. Point Loma peaked at 53, and El Cajon gusts of 51. Tomorrow, we're not going to see as intense winds. Nonetheless, that storm system still sitting offshore, and it's going to continue to wreak havoc for us at least for the next 24 hours. Currently 62 degrees here in San Diego. Notice our winds. A little on the high side at 13 miles per hour, but they are out of the south, so it has been a fairly warm wind and actually forecasted to stay that way through tomorrow as well. Here we go, that cold front now has pushed on through, but the center circulation is just off the coast, so that's continuing to pull in some of that subtropical moisture. We're also getting little bits of energy, allowing for another chance of some thunderstorms to roll through the area for tomorrow. We are waiting for this system to slide inland, and then we will finally begin to see a decrease in the shower activity. Hour by hour rain cloud forecast. By the time we get to 7 a.m., most of the coastline is clear from around Del Mar out over toward La Jolla, possibly skirting out over toward Coronado, light sprinkle activity, heavier rain out over toward Escondido and even out into Lemon Grove. Very showery activity though. Until 11 a.m. now the coast finally begins to dry out. The one exception right around Balboa Park where they are doing the Finish Chelsea's run. A light raincoat, that's all you'll need. Heavier activity, though, I found out over toward Julian. It's when that system decides to move inland at around 5 o'clock, we begin to rock and roll again with some of those thunderstorms. Here you go out over toward downtown, the area shaded in red. That will be the heaviest activity where we could see some rainfall rates at about an inch an hour, covering all the way out over toward La Mesa and Lemon Grove. By the time we get to 6 o'clock, that intense shower will begin to move out over toward Ramona, even into Lakeside and Alpine, pulling out over toward Pine Valley. And then we begin to see things slowly taper off so that by 7 a.m., only a 10% chance of a lingering shower activity. We will see some of that sunshine come on out to play with us, and we'll continue to see more sun as the week progresses and temperatures then beginning to warm. Heading into the waters, obviously not a great idea. High surf advisory up all the way through Sunday. You can see your swell 8 to 12 feet, but look at the high tide coming in at around 8:51, over 6 feet. And so those two things combined, we could actually see some 15-foot sets out there. I know Netta has this bright idea to go look at it in the range. You'll see some of the high waves, but obviously being safe and not going in the water. 7-day forecast for you. 64 degrees tomorrow, 65 Sunday, the rain coming to an end, jumping to 70 by Wednesday. Inland 63 degrees, 65 Sunday. We'll continue with the breeze. You actually jump to the 70s as well and into Tuesday, and the mid-70s by the end of the work week. The mountains 45 degrees. That flash flood watch does continue with us through Sunday morning. We are going to continue with that 10% chance of rain for you into the morning, and because it is such a warm system, we're not looking at really getting a lot of snowfall here. The desert 69 degrees tomorrow, 70 Sunday, and welcome into the 80s by Tuesday. That's a look at your 7-day forecast. Guys, back to you.
I saw one surfer out there today, a brave one. It's dangerous though, right?
Well, it's dangerous and it's also poor conditions, to be honest.
The water isn't very clean when it gets like this. Yeah. All right, Sabrina, thank you very much. Distracted driving. It is now officially legal in California to check your phone while driving if you're looking at a map, but do you think it should be? We'll have your comments right after the break. State Attorney General's office now considering whether to challenge a court ruling made yesterday that California drivers can use cell phone maps behind the wheel.
The 5th District Court of Appeal determined that laws which prohibit talking on a cell phone or texting while driving do not apply if you're looking at a map on your cell phone. A Fresno man at the center of this case says he's no champion for distracted driving, saying we're distracted all the time.
Yeah, his position is if those distractions cause us to drive erratically, then we should be ticketed. So what do you think? Should there be a new law to prohibit the use of cell phone maps, or should authorities back off and only ticket vehicles that appear to be driving erratically?
We all deal with this one. That discussion underway on our San Diego 6 Facebook page. Norma says, what's the difference with new cars that have GPS? Should they be cited too for having a GPS on their car? Let's get real. Cell phones have voice navigation and cars do too. Yeah, Yezin says, I'm just going to stay home from now on.
Well, Kimberly says, why don't you give us a tax credit or something that helps us all purchase vehicles that come with GPS or centers that will install them in our vehicles we already have? All hands should remain at 10 and 2. Great comments. We thank you for them. And as always, you can chime in on our San Diego 6 Facebook page.
Coming up, ditching the jacket for a Speedo, why these students went swimming in the snow.
Well, check this out. Two men getting a lot of attention online for swimming in the snow. Students at the University of Minnesota Duluth are now known as the Snow Swimmers.
Here they go, stepping outside in not much clothes. Wow. Duluth got 14 inches of snow. It was 28 degrees outside, which apparently is a warm day for that city. So the two men stripped down in their Speedos. They have the swim caps on, though, to keep their head warm, and goggles. And yes, as you can see, dove right in. That guy didn't last very long. The video blew up on social media with thousands of likes and shares on their video.
You know, calling them the Snow Swimmers in quotes is really giving them the benefit of the doubt.
That wasn't swimming, right?
No, they kind of jumped in the snow and then
It's like a different way of making a snow angel instead of lying on your back to do it.
Yeah.
They went head first.
Yeah. All right, we actually did see record-breaking rain today out over toward Oceanside as well as into Ramona, San Diego at Montgomery Field. Will we see it tomorrow? We'll tell you exactly how much rain we're forecasted to get on Saturday coming up in the next half hour.
And coming up, I'm not dead yet. That's what this man was yelling. A close call for him, whose family thought he was dead. Where the man was when he woke up just in time.
San Diego 6 News at 10.
Well, welcome back. Storm certainly did not disappoint today if you were looking for heavy rains and windy conditions across not only the county but all of Southern California.
We sure got it. We have team coverage for you tonight. Our meteorologist Sabrina Fine standing by with the latest on our weather, and John Carroll live in Mission Valley. We're going to start with Sabrina. Are we still dealing with flooding concerns tonight?
Yeah, that flash flood watch remains up for us. I did call the National Weather Service earlier today, though, to see if we had any thunderstorms. They said no. San Diego County got 0. One lightning strike reported into Orange County, but we're looking at some more heavy showers moving throughout the region right now. All of it generally pushing off out over toward the east. One shower right now just beginning to exit Carlsbad in the next 5 minutes, but continuing to go out over toward Vista. If you are north of the 78 in Escondido, you'll see some of the light activity at least for the next 15 minutes. The strongest shower now beginning to die down along I-5 and Oceanside, but guess what, folks, in Fallbrook, that is coming to you into the next 10 minutes, and these showers are really just popping up and slowly drifting to the east, and we're going to continue to see this pattern all the way through your Saturday into early Sunday, and that is why that flash flood watch is up until 3 a.m. on Saturday from the coast all the way out over toward the mountain communities. The system also kicking up high waves, so a coastal flood warning is up until 1 a.m. on Sunday, where you are going to see some sets up to 15 feet if you're out, say, around 9 a.m. High wind warning out over toward the mountains. This has actually been decreasing in time span for us, expected now to expire at 6 a.m. We could still see some gusts 65 to 75 miles per hour, and although Saturday day is going to be windy, not enough to prompt that high wind warning. Rainfall totals, this is from now through around Saturday evening, we could pick up another 2 inches of rain for you in Ramona, Alpine another inch and maybe 4/10, El Cajon another inch, Escondido about another inch, and 2/10 of rainfall for you. Coming up, we'll take a look at your hour-by-hour wind forecast, since the winds will remain with us. Now time to check in with John Carroll to see how he is enjoying the middle of the storm.
I'm enjoying it a lot, Sabrina. It's beautiful out here. I'm on Avenida del Rio, which, as you know, is a place that floods without too much help from Mother Nature. Over there, Fashion Valley, and right here, a very angry-looking San Diego River flowing across Avenida del Rio, forcing police to close this road. You know, for a lot of places around San Diego County today, just getting so much rain in such a relatively short amount of time really did a number on trees and on people. The sight and the sound of some of the heaviest rain San Diego has seen in many months. This is what my photographer and I saw and heard as we got on the 52 westbound at about 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. The intensity of that rain and the wind pushing it through the county was just too much for lots of trees. This one fell across a sidewalk in Kearny Mesa. But within about 20 minutes, a city crew had turned the sidewalk obstruction into fresh mulch. That tree was small potatoes compared to what happened in Scripps Ranch late Friday afternoon. 2 eucalyptus trees, one pretty big, the other one huge, fell at the Scripps Terrace Business Park. You can see the larger one took out a big part of a fence and damaged a building and barely missed a brand new Honda Civic. The other one blocked in traffic for a while.
This one was blocking the road. There was a bunch of cars backed up behind it, so the fire truck came up, blocked it so people could go around. Then we got a bunch of us over here to move the tree out of the way as best we could.
At Lindbergh Field, much of the story was told on information screens. The words "now at" indicating delayed flight after delayed flight. Travelers told San Diego 6 the stormy conditions made it tough to get here, and for those flying in, those same conditions made for some tense moments.
There was a lot of turbulence. It lasted for a long time, probably the scariest, bumpiest ride I've ever been on any plane.
Flight was a little delayed, and then there was a lot of turbulence coming into San Diego. We had to fly in the opposite direction, and so the wind was pretty rough, and it was turning the plane quite a bit.
It was the first time that on an American flight people have cheered on the way in, so as soon as we landed everybody was pretty excited.
Of course, one's experience of the inclement weather has a lot to do with where you experience it. From the cozy confines of the La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club's marine room, diners watched as waves slammed into the restaurant, not quite getting up to the windows, but close enough to pull out the cameras for some memorable shots. Now back out here live and take a look at the San Diego River. The National Weather Service put it at 2.7 feet over flood stage. That was at 10 o'clock tonight, just about a half hour ago. But we've got quite a ways to go. Here's a little hydrological information for you. It's going to climb right through tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They say it's going to reach 6.2 feet over flood stage. So if it's 2.7, 2.8 right now, we've got quite a ways to go. But that's nothing like its actual big-time flood stage, which the National Weather Service puts at 11.3 feet. A good storm, not too crazy of a storm. Live in Mission Valley, John Carroll, San Diego 6 News.
And as you say, John, that area is designed to flood just the way it is doing. Well, a Fresno man is recovering in the hospital tonight after being hit by lightning. 36-year-old was found unresponsive at an intersection just before noon today by a sheriff's deputy. Deputy called for help while giving the man CPR. Once emergency crews arrived, they rushed him to the hospital where they found burns on his armpit and feet consistent with a lightning strike. No word yet on that man's condition. A wet and wild morning for two men and their dogs after they fell into the Los Angeles River. The group was found stranded on a fallen tree in waist-deep water near Dodger Stadium. Los Angeles Fire Department conducted a swift water rescue. Firefighters gave the men life jackets to put on while they held on to their dogs. An inflatable boat was then sent down to bring them safely back to solid ground.
SeaWorld may have to close again tomorrow if the weather stays stormy. SeaWorld representatives said they were closed all day today because of strong wind and heavy rain. They'll wait until the morning to find out if they should open their gates up tomorrow. And SeaWorld, by the way, back on the offensive, taking aim at an OSHA investigator for socializing with the director of Blackfish. Our media partners 10 News revealed these photos of investigator Laura Paget, seen with Gabriella Cowperthwaite, the Blackfish director. The film, critical of orcas in captivity, led OSHA to investigate the death of a SeaWorld trainer. That investigation then resulted in trainers being banned from waters with orcas. SeaWorld filed this massive complaint saying Paget leaked confidential documents to the makers of the film. A branding expert says SeaWorld's complaint is a good move.
There's an opportunity for SeaWorld to tell what their truth is. And if this is part of that, then it makes sense.
In the complaint, SeaWorld says the OSHA investigator made several social media posts as well supporting the film. One even read, "Take that, SeaWorld, they've got to be getting nervous now."
Well, long, drawn-out divorces could soon be a thing of the past in San Diego. San Diego Superior Court is about to unveil a new one-day divorce program. Pilot program will only be available to spouses who represent themselves in court and have no issues to contest. Those couples will first meet with family law advisors, but could then see a judge to finalize the divorce that very same day. Plan comes after years of feedback from couples who are seeking simple ways to end their marriage, but wind up buried in paperwork and court hearings for months or years. Well, tension in Ukraine tonight as its ambassador to the United Nations warned Russia against any further violation of its borders.
This warning came as the U.S. urged Russia to back off or face possible consequences. President Obama said the U.S. is concerned about reports of military movements taken by the Russian Federation inside Ukraine, adding it would be a clear violation of Ukraine's sovereignty.
Throughout this crisis, we have been very clear about one fundamental principle. The Ukrainian people deserve the opportunity to determine their own future.
Secretary of State John Kerry says Russia's foreign minister told him the country is not engaging in any violation.
A Mississippi man declared dead woke up in a body bag at a funeral home moments before he was to be embalmed. The coroner told Walter Williams' family he checked Williams' pulse around 9 o'clock Wednesday night. He pronounced him dead without a heartbeat at his home in Lexington. Coroner helped move Williams to the funeral home, but that's when he started kicking his legs. Paramedics rushed Williams to the hospital, where family members are overjoyed that he's alive.
I don't know how much longer he gonna grace us and bless us with his presence, but hallelujah, we thank him right now. Right now.
Funeral home manager said this is the first time he's ever seen anything like this.
Wow, glad they found that. And now San Diego State running back Adam Muema spent 3 days in an airport terminal. This is an interesting story here. The Union Tribune spoke to his friend, Oklahoma linebacker Corey Nelson, who says Muema called him from an airport in Fort Lauderdale and asked him to pick him up. Muema left the combine, the NFL combine, on Sunday, saying God told him he would make it onto his dream team, the Seattle Seahawks, if he left Indianapolis. Muema, who was still in his combine clothes at the airport, said God also told him to stay there. A CBS Sports video producer saw him milling around baggage claim. Aztec football coach discussed his concern for Muema after training yesterday.
We hope the young man's okay, and we hope that he comes back here where people care about him, and hopefully we can help him through this time, and he can go on and be a very productive NFL football player later on.
Fox Sports is reporting Muema caught a flight to Los Angeles and has been in contact with his Aztec coaches now today, but it's not known if he will be in San Diego State's Pro Day workout for NFL scouts happening March 20th. And a big move for the Bolts as the Chargers lock up one of their top defenders on a long-term deal. Linebacker Donald Butler and the team agreed to a multi-year contract extension today, the terms of which were not disclosed. The 25-year-old calls the plays for the defense and is considered a rising star by many in the league. Butler joined the Bolts in 2010 out of the University of Washington. He ranked second on the team last season with 99 tackles despite missing 3 games. And listen up, ladies, if you're interested in joining the Charger Girl Cheer Squad, there's a pre-audition workshop you'll want to attend. This event is this Sunday afternoon from 2 to 5 at the Jenny Craig Pavilion on the University of San Diego campus. Pre-registration for the workshop is recommended and can be done at chargers.com. There's a non-refundable cash-only fee of $50 that'll be collected at the workshop Sunday. The workshop includes a dance clinic, some mock auditions, and question and answers with last year's team.
Well, straight ahead, dogs and disease, how man's best friend is being used to find vaccines.
And hitting the brakes on your health, how the amount of time you spend behind the wheel is hurting your body.
A man's best friend being used to help fight cancer and other diseases that are more common in humans. Veterinarians in Pennsylvania are partnering with owners of sick dogs to find drugs and vaccines that can help save those dogs' lives while also providing valuable information for doctors. Early results on one cancer vaccine show that 5 dogs who used to be sick are doing remarkably better. In an interesting twist, the vaccine was not initially meant to be used on dogs.
It was designed for humans, and in fact the gene that we're targeting, the HER2-neu antigen that's overexpressed in human breast cancer.
By looking at canine data, researchers hope to design a safe vaccine not only for dogs, but one that can help children with osteosarcoma and adults with other deadly tumors.
Fascinating. 51 minutes. That's how long the average daily American's commute is, and it's taken a major toll on our bodies. A new study shows commuters have lower life satisfaction, lower levels of happiness, and higher anxiety on average than non-commuters. Commuters who spend 60 to 90 minutes behind the wheel are even worse off. It's not just drivers at risk. People who take a bus longer than 30 minutes to work scored the worst among all of those surveyed. And is Facebook killing our ability to focus and make good choices? That's what new research says. The study found people who spend more time on Facebook are more likely to overeat, shop with credit cards, and focus less. The researchers say it's all about Facebook lowering our self-control. because it makes us happy. When people feel good, researchers say they let their guard down, and self-control then fails. Disney is showing support for gay rights by no longer giving charity money to the Boy Scouts. The Walt Disney Company said it'll pull all funding starting next year because of the Boy Scouts' policy to ban gay leaders. Scouts for Equality says Disney is not alone in ending its support of the Scouts. Lockheed Martin, Caterpillar, Major League Soccer, Merck, Intel, and UPS have also stopped their donations.
Car dealership in North Dakota offering up a unique deal this weekend. Anyone who buys a truck will get a free gun. Ford dealership is offering shotguns to anyone who buys a new or used truck. Dealership's owner says trucks and hunting go hand in hand. The offer already has plenty of interested people calling in to reserve one.
We want to buy a pickup, and we're going to wait until we can get a free gun with it.
Kind of goes hand in hand. Most people won't go hunting in a car.
Dealership will offer the buy one, get one free deal for the next 2 weeks, but could extend it even longer if they get a lot of business from it.
I hope it wasn't too literal. Do you hunt while you're in the car? I don't think so. All right, a U.S. soldier soared to new heights when he returned home to his family.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right, man. We'll see you in the plane.
All right, see ya.
Army Specialist Ted Treese is home from a 9-month tour in Afghanistan, and he decided to surprise his 3- and 4-year-old sons this way by jumping out of a plane and parachuting onto the field where they were playing. Look at that. Treese's wife was in on the surprise, but his sons, they had no idea. What a hug that is. Oh.
How cool is that? Different ways we've seen that done. Now Dad flies right out of the sky. That's pretty cool.
Superman.
All right. Meteorologist Sabrina Fine standing. We're talking about snow. Oh, wow. Look at all that.
Yeah, this actually caused an avalanche, came down in Missoula, Montana, and actually crushed a house. Folks were unsure if an elderly couple was actually in that building. You can see them trying to shovel out. You can eventually end up seeing a roof beginning to peek out there. There was a boy that was later rescued. This system, you can see some of the snow flurries coming down, part of a major winter storm where there are warnings and watches up from Montana all the way out over toward Pennsylvania. St. Louis will get in on some of that action tomorrow at 6 p.m., picking up 5 to 9 inches of snow and sleet. Pittsburgh, Sunday at 3 p.m., it comes to them, and they will see about 6 inches of snowfall. For us, we're just talking about rainfall totals. We did pick up quite a lot as well. A few inches, in fact. Out over toward La Mesa, picking up almost half an inch. El Cajon, over an inch of rainfall for you. Further to the north is where we saw most of it. Fallbrook, almost 2 inches of rainfall there. Vista, about 1 inch and 2/10. Borrego, not picking up much for today, but Julian saw almost 3 inches, where Palomar Mountain picked up close to 5.5 inches. And we will see more rain activity for us tomorrow, as well as high winds as we await the storm system to finally push on shore. Looking at the radar, all the activity pushing further to the east. So right now, heavier rain found out over toward the mountain communities. But check this out, the strong line from Fallbrook and Oceanside building back out over toward the Pacific, and that will continue to move inland, not only throughout the morning hours, but continue to intensify as well over the afternoon. Current wind speeds, though, this is where we have seen some improvement. Earlier today, winds sustained at about 37 miles per hour in San Diego. Right now, only looking at 12. Julian, seeing your sustained winds at around 20, the same out over toward Borrego. All of it as this low pressure system gets a little bit closer out over toward, oh, it looks like just to the north of Los Angeles, where Santa Barbara is actually going to pick up most of the rainfall for the state. We're still going to see that onshore flow, so temps tomorrow going to be about 3 degrees cooler than where they were today. We will see some peaks of sunshine, but that's just going to continue to breed some thunderstorms for us in the afternoon, and high winds will roll through the region, although not looking at any high wind warning or wind advisories into the afternoon. Starting things off for you at about just 1 hour, you'll notice your winds occasionally gusting up to about 30 miles per hour in inland areas where we have some of that rain. Once we get to about 10 a.m., this is where we see winds gusting about 20 along the coastline, 40 into the mountains, peaking 45 for you at around noon. Not really looking to die down along the coastline until we get to about 8 p.m. 7-day forecast for you. 64 degrees on Saturday. The rain comes to an end early Sunday morning. Inland 63 degrees. A little bit more sunshine for you on into Sunday and warming up into the 70s by next work week. The mountains 45 degrees, continuing with that flash flood watch. In the deserts 69 degrees. You also have a chance of seeing about a half an inch of rain. Guys, back to you.
Sabrina, thank you.
And now a pair of Hollywood heavyweights make a major announcement. What's next for Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher?
Could soggy weather spoil all the Oscar fun? Hollywood getting ready for its biggest night, but the heavy rain may put a damper on this year's Oscars.
So keeping the red carpet dry is a big task for these workers. Tents and plastic coverings are being laid out. Producers are ready for the challenge, but they're still hoping for sun and clear skies on the big day. Some weather experts say most of the storm will rain itself out by Sunday.
Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis engaged. A source for the couple confirmed the engagement to People magazine. Two met as co-stars on the former That 70s show and were friends ever since. They started dating in 2012. No word on when the big day will be.
Wow, hot couple there. Oscar winner Philip Seymour Hoffman's death is officially being blamed on drugs. The medical examiner's report cites acute mixed drug intoxication, including heroin, cocaine, benzodiazepine, and amphetamine. The Oscar-winning actor was found dead in his Manhattan apartment back on February 2nd with needles and 50 packets containing traces of heroin around him. 3 people are facing drug charges in connection to his death.
We'll ever wonder what President Obama and Vice President Biden do for exercise? Here is the answer.
Mr. President, you ready to move?
Absolutely. Let's do this thing. Let's move.
In their ties and everything, the two run through the halls of the White House in this video, which is part of the First Lady's Let's Move fitness campaign. This is the campaign's 4th anniversary of their effort to end childhood obesity.
Got a good pace going there.
Yeah.
Oh, a colorful dance breaks out at a local school. What the students were celebrating as they set a new world record. You are watching a record-breaking dance performance in Carlsbad today. 504 students and faculty members at Pacific Ridge School took part in an African dance to the song Para Para.
This record was for the world's largest African dance, all part of a grand opening celebration for a new building at the middle school, as well as their arts center. In case you're wondering, there was a representative from Guinness on hand to certify this as a world record. Local students doing some good. That's
with their with the colorful shirts, and they got the steps down. Great job.
They're ready to do this they're ready to do like a mob dance. What's it called? A flash mob. they all know the same routine. Just be like, hey, all you kids, let's join us. Go to the mall. Do it.
And a mob dance is a whole other category. It's got a whole different feel to it. All right, thanks for being with us. San Diego, the morning show starts at 8 a.m. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.